Hi, Marco here, CEO and co-founder of Donut Lab. Today we are announcing a new video series that will share third-party validation of our incredible new battery. In January this year, we announced Donut Battery, an all-solid-state battery pack available to OEMs today. Not only is it the world's first solid-state battery in production vehicles, but it also combines all the best potential features of a solid-state battery pack into one, at the price that competes with lithium-ion. Now, this is something that obviously disrupts the entire industry, and the reaction has been intense, and honestly, not unexpected. The internet lit up, media coverage turned into speculation, YouTube filled with opinions, and the comment sections full of certainty that this technology cannot be real. Some called it a scam, and others said it was a marketing move to raise funding, while others said it's simply too good to be true. Well, this is not the first time we have seen this. When we launched the Donut motor a year earlier, a similar thing happened, at a smaller scale, but with the same logic. People said it was CGI, that our motors break the laws of physics, and if this were possible, big companies would have done it first. And actually, one of the first comments came from a representative of a major German motor manufacturer, and his conclusion was blunt. This cannot be true, because if it were, our organization would have patented it 60 years ago. That's not a technical argument. It's an assumption. If we didn't invent it, it cannot exist. Since then, Donut motor has gone into real vehicles, and this year you'll see the first trucks and even sports cars powered by incredible Donut motors. Now, the same pattern is repeating with Donut battery. People have been trying to solve the story from fragments. Some found an empty building that belongs to a company that we invested in and built an entire narrative from a single photo. Aha, there's no production. Others claim that what we call a battery isn't actually a battery, but a supercapacitor. And suddenly that becomes the most repeated explanation, not because it has any evidence, but because it's easy to repeat. And then something else happened. It stopped being only random speculation. The scam label started getting repeated as if it were settled fact, because the media did what the media often does. It looked for authority. It went to industry experts, took quotes at face value, and repeated them widely. We've heard it directly from the so-called experts, people with titles and reputations. People quoted in articles and interviewed on camera, and they said it's a scam. That is not even scientifically possible, that the research doesn't support it. That is why we are making this series. Not to argue online and not to trade opinions, but to put measurable evidence in public view so people can separate what's asserted from what's verified. So why didn't we publish third-party validation immediately? Here's our reasoning. We've been preparing for this for a long time, and we've had time to think carefully about how to bring this technology to the market. If we had dropped complete third-party validation on day one, the controversy wouldn't have ended. It would have simply moved. Because when certain people don't like the conclusion, they just pivot to a different claim. If you prove the technology works, the next argument becomes something else, like industrial scale, for example. And scale would be the perfect battlefield for doubt, because it takes months and sometimes even years to demonstrate in a way that really satisfies everyone. And in the meantime, it's easy to keep questioning. And that becomes a tool for the giant competitors of ours, and it becomes a self-fulfilling dynamic. The louder the doubt, the harder it becomes to fund scaling, because investors and partners also listen to the experts. So we made a deliberate decision. We wanted the industry, especially the loudest voices, to go on record first. We wanted them to publish their certainty and to broadcast to everyone what they really think, which is, this technology simply cannot exist today. Because first of all, then everyone, even outside the industry, truly understands how mind-blowingly big breakthrough it is what we are bringing to the market, and what it can mean to the entire industry and even to our planet. But also, when we do show the evidence, you can already recognize the pattern that I described. You can see how quickly certainty becomes narrative, and hopefully everybody's less likely to be pulled along when the story tries to move again, mainly driven by people with direct or indirect interest in the issue. Now that's what this series is all about. We publish the claims, now we are publishing the evidence. We are doing it with a respected state-owned research and science center, a third party whose job is to measure, verify, and report. No opinions or marketing, just facts. And I want you to remember this moment and the headlines. Remember the certainty and the quotes from the experts, because I can guarantee that when we demonstrate that the battery is actually real, many of those who said this cannot exist will not simply admit they were wrong. Instead, the argument will shift. It will go from technically impossible to, well, anyone can make a battery like that, but you surely cannot bring it to industrial scale. Or, if they use such and such technology in partnership with such and such, then surely it's possible, but not by themselves alone. And yes, there are interests at play. People build careers and research programs on certain assumptions. It's human to resist the idea that a group of outsiders change the game. And when it's about energy, when it's about industrial power, it should be no surprise to anyone that not everybody favors a fast transition. The resistance won't disappear when we present the proof. It will just intensify, because this new technology is a threat to the established players in the industry. Some of the world's largest battery manufacturers have already publicly called donut battery a scam, saying that the specifications cannot be true. Is that somehow surprising? If years or even decades of their work hasn't produced the winning technology, somebody has to explain why. And sometimes denial is the easiest way out. And at the same time, I can tell you, the investment arms have privately reached out to us, asking if they can invest. Now that tells you more about reality than any headline. It also says something about why venture capital exists. Big companies are often built to optimize, improve, and protect. They rarely make giant leaps. And then, from somewhere, a small unknown team shows up, together with other small unknown partners, and together they change the entire map. That is the story of Donut Battery. We will take you on a journey, step by step, proof by proof. We control the narrative, and we truly know how to bring this technology to the market. No, it's not a scam, and yes, it will change the industry. Welcome to the Donut Battery Proof series, I Donut Believe. Let's begin.